time for us to have our monthly workshop at Spring City Board of Commissioners. I'd say first, thank you all for being in attendance. A discussion of proposed resolution R 2026-31, a resolution declaring certain equipment surplus property and authorized of its disposal.
Thank you, Mayor. This is two Ferris mowers that are going to be surplus and some of the extra equipment that the fire department has purchased through the roughly $100,000 grant that they were awarded a couple months ago. So it'll be some air packs, an explosion-proof box, things they don't need anymore. We'll be able to sell them and hopefully recover funds. But the grant was 100% that they got, so I guess we're just gonna talk.
Question, no? Wait a minute. Number two, discussion of festivals and events. Discussion of festivals and events as they relate to the closure of Front Street include consideration of full or partial street closure and the possibility of use of Nature Park or Veterans Park for public events.
More on us than it is anybody. We've had this discussion several times. How many events we holding on the street a year? Besides the Balloons Festival, the parade, and the Thanksgiving, lighting of the Christmas. That's the only three things we close the street for.
Well, the parade and the blue or the Christmas are all on the same day now.
So twice.
Yeah.
Twice a year. But and one time we don't even close the whole street. So, and I know we had a.
What's the other one? Oh, the autumn festival. So there's three total.
Is that y'all or is that?
Autumn
It's a
Festival is
change.
the one to the
Veterans Park.
Veterans Park this year.
No, it's not.
No?
It's still in works.
Oh, so three.
But we've had this, I mean, I know what the last city manager sent me, that everything that was supposed to be around through there is supposed to be a 501c. I don't know how that works with us. This was a total different discussion. It's the same thing, but it's different. I know we've got a person that owns some buildings on Front Street, and I think that's why we're here today, because they don't want the streets shut down and all that. But we gotta figure out something that's gonna stand the best that we can.
Well, if we move the festivals to the nature park, there'll be one thing. There's electricity, as I understand it, at the park. And also, there's room to expand. So personally, I think Veterans Park is the prettiest part because of the lake and all that. But there's not as much room for expansion at Veterans Park as there is at Nature Park. So if we
disagree.
if we want these festivals to continue to grow, and I think that's what we want, then I think maybe Nature Park would be the best fit as far as expansion and all that.
Just wait a minute. I'm gonna play devil's advocate now. So, and I don't disagree with what you say, but I think we started these festivals because I was on the first tourism board, was to draw people to town, into town. And we don't have a bunch of businesses. We need to get that rectified. We do need more businesses and shops and stuff like that. There's other towns, everybody in here, not everybody, most people travel around and see that. I see it a lot of places I go. But you brought them here to see your town and not put them in the park.
And spend money. You bring
That-
them here to spend money.
That's what we're trying, the revenue was the whole thing. When I got up here,
They're not gonna buy goose poop down there.
revenue, and we don't get enough of it. I see both sides. I don't like being in the middle of this, but we're gonna have to make a decision, and I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying, I want them in town, because I want them to see what we do. I want them to spend money in town when they are here.
Can I make it?
Go
Hang on a
ahead.
second. Having been part of a lot of activities around this community for the last, 14 years, and like Kevin says, we travel around. And there's times that we're going someplace or whatever, but then we see an event and we stop. I understand what both of you are saying, but with having it on Front Street, there's more visibility from 27. And as far as expansion, the people that were, we have a couple people that can comment on the event that we had, the Blooms Festival. I was one of the people that was there at the information booth, and this is our 4th year doing it, and for all of us that were there, it's like, that's the first time we've had people that were vendors, people that were coming there just to visit, that said this was the best event we've had in Spring City. Very well organized, lots of variety of vendors, and there were people there all day long, and they were going into the businesses, and they were coming and shopping in our town, and we had a number of people that had food items that sold out quickly, and everybody seemed to be very happy, and we're showcasing, like you said, our downtown. People come to town. We've had different events over the years that some people have not been real happy about us closing the streets down. It's like when, I'll go back to like the car shows we had years ago. As a female, I go walk around with my husband when we go to car shows, and then it's like, okay, I get bored. Because you guys can talk about stuff forever. But when there's shops around, us ladies will go into the shops. We'll spend money. And we may or may not do it that day, but we'll take a look and see what's going on, and we'll want to come back and bring our friends. And I think that's a big part of having it on Front Street, so people can see it. They can, businesses there can have specials, have an event going on at the same time, which some have, which is wonderful. And right now we've had it like from the depot here. As far as expansion, we have space for now that works, but as it grows, we can expand down farther Front Street, we can expand into the grass, we can even, I know our goal has been, it's like, okay, if we can expand all the way into the nature park, that would be awesome to have it all the way, all encompassing.
You can expand to the pigs if you want to.
Okay?
Yeah, I mean,
It's about-
we don't own that property all the way down to the nature park. I mean, it's personal property from the end of Front Street on down.
But still, the road is city property, right? Is that not?
Yeah, the road city property, the railroad owns everything from the curve all the way to the
To the
highway.
other side, yeah.
But,
But just as
and
far as
I-
expanding, that's,
And I agree with Jody as far as visibility. I mean, that obviously along the railroad, the Front Street, that is the most visible place. But then I also wonder what the actual business people, if they really, I know between the lines, I'm not sure how she did this year, but, she has commented that the Blooms Festival really jumped her business, but then I don't know about everybody else. I'm not sure.
well, like, we have somebody that went and talked to everybody. And one thing,
I
Teresa
did.
Evans,
I went and spoke to every vendor, it was not a food vendor. And every one of them told me it was the best festival, that they made money, and that they would definitely
what about the businesses?
Well,
I
this
mean,
She's
that's-
gone.
And this is
The
a
Front
first,
Street.
I'm talking about the businesses.
Yeah, I
on Front
didn't go talk with the businesses
Yeah.
The
that
only,
day.
the only
this
two
is the
that's
first
technically
year-
open, the only two that's technically open are,
Street. Cassie's and Elders.
well,
that's the other end.
that's the other end, because we didn't close it off.
Yeah.
The only thing that is technically open is, what's it, Ayala's
Yeah,
and, her place.
But actually, this year, for the first time, our Daily Bread was open.
Was it?
And
Yeah.
people that went
That
in
was
there
a
just to
good
check how they were doing, they said they did a slam in business.
Yeah,
So, in all the years that we've had any kind of festivals in Spring City, they were open and they had great success.
yeah, that's good. If they're open.
And Ayala's does have parking in the back, and I don't know if he's ever complained about anything, so. You,
Sandy?
I just wanted to bring up from a nature park perspective, I don't think the nature park could house what they do from an electricity perspective. Because there's way more I know unless there's been a big change, electricity's not been added generously at the nature park, because the year that it flooded, I was told to send my vendors over there, and when I walked it with Billy Ray, there was not enough to support, because we did 50 and 60 vendors. So I'm not gonna be able to use that. So, and again, taking it to nature park would be fine. But it takes away from what you're hoping to gain from people seeing it and people stopping. They can use the nature park to park, and I'm sure that a lot of folks do. But even moving it, and I've always said I'm a big proponent of the parks. We're adding more electricity to Veterans Park, but again, that takes away from what they're trying to bring to the community. And so visibility, to me, it's important. People drive by, people's wanting to check things out, and people's wanting to stop. So that's the goal. And if you take it and put it in other places where they can't see that, you won't have to lose that.
See, I'm wondering how many people actually, I think it's a good look for the town, because it looks like we're alive. It doesn't look dead. But I wonder how many people actually drive through or are driving through and stop for the festival. I have no idea. I just wonder that.
I'm sure that for the most part, you probably get 30 to 40% of your people that come by just because they see something interesting. I'll check it out, because I know that I go to Crosspoint and I hate the yard sale. I always told my mom, if you do anything during yard sale week, don't do anything stupid, because I'm not fighting the traffic to come up there. But they drew me in this year. And it was like, okay, well, that looks neat. Let me go get my business done and I'll come back and stop. So it is something that people see and people are gonna stop. So I do think that by moving, there is a huge disadvantage to what the end goal is.
Kind of like Kevin said, it's a downtown thing. It's showing off your town, your storefront. Some storefronts might not like it, not all of them, but everyone I've been into, hers buying my wife gift certificates to drinking it off at tax. When I'm at those things, we hit all them stores. We should not be scared to shut our downtown street off to have gatherings. The town I'm from, that I started, they have it every week. They don't shut down all the streets. They have the farmer's market, and they do something to bring the people here. We're finally getting a nice space to the town, and we're getting stuff in here. Now we wanna hide it again. I think it should stay down 3 times a year. Big deal,
And I see that, and I've always liked the fact that there was visibility for Front Street. But I think that we either need to do one lane, like we've talked about,
No one said.
or close the entire street. I don't think that it's gonna be appropriate to close half the street and not close the other half. I think if we're gonna do it, we need to go all out and do the whole thing.
Okay, now everybody spoke besides me. I won't hear what the people's got to say. This lady's got her hand up next. Yes,
At
ma'am.
Legion, we started advertising our breakfast about a month or 2 months ahead, and we do it the whole east side of the state, and we're having a breakfast. So we have people coming to the whole east side of the state for our breakfast, and then, oh, we got the blues festival. Came out 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning for our breakfast, and they stayed for the festival. So we had veterans all over, they come to see our hall, and that's the only time they'll come see our hall, they wanna see our hall, and then they stay for the breakfast. We made the most money for our breakfast that they have in years, and then they stayed for the hall, or they stayed for the festival. If you move that, they'll come for the breakfast still, but if you move that to someplace, they gotta go and go up, they're not gonna come for the festival,
Yeah, I don't see it.
off-site.
And it was delicious, I
Thank you,
participated in
appreciate
it.
it.
Yes, sir.
All right, if you wonder how many people come, walk down the street and see how many you don't know. I lived here my whole life, and it's amazing at the people that you don't even got a clue where they come from.
I can go to Rocky
We sold a lot of
Top and see
t-shirts.
people I don't know.
You sold lots of t-shirts.
And-
Yeah.
Cool.
And if we can't shut the street down, what if our baseball teams or football teams go to state, we can't have a program, a parade to promote that? I mean, these festivals, do they not help bring money to the town as far as grants?
Yes.
Do they not help get a grant?
Yeah.
Folks, I lived here my whole life, and I've never seen the people in town that we get at these festivals. I have nothing to do with it. I sit up and sell every now and then. I sit up and I have a benefit for people that need it downtown. Is that gonna keep me from doing that? But you say no, but if we say we can't do this, then it's like, well, if you can't do that, you can't do that either.
She's talking about moving down there. When hell Strawberry Parade, go down and see how many people's over at Fort Park, and how many's at the courthouse going down to the town. That right there tells you the whole story. People going right down there, and they going in them shops, they close the whole city of Dayton down. And I live middle way, so it don't matter to me one iota, cause I've expressed my opinion up here before. But you think of that, you go down there when the House Strawberry Parade, the morning they have it, you drive down through the little town, I guarantee you won't go past Jimmy Reese's, plumb down there to City Hall. And you know, everybody in here goes down there now.
You got to walk back. to food
That's
station,
exactly right.
And if
And
you-
what are they down there to see? They
parade,
see the parade
food.
and stroll up and down the road and eat food.
And the crabs.
Yes, sir.
What if we made a compromise? Like, what if you made like a city-like time limit? It could only be for 3 hours, 4 hours that you could shut down the front street.
There is no way there's anyone else.
My bad, y'all. I had an opinion and I didn't know. Like, we're talking about my
It does have a time. It does have a time limit. They set a time.
It
Well, I was
is.
just thinking we could all.
Yes, ma'am.
My bad.
Okay,
I got excited. I'm sorry. I appreciate it.
From my understanding, it's all good, that the businesses just want to be notified in time so they can do something.
And that's
That's
gotten,
all, I mean,
that has gotten better.
they're not against the
No.
shutting down, they just
No,
want to be
it-
told.
We just have one gentleman that owns a block of buildings, and he don't like the street being shut down. I don't care to say this, I know what's going on, because I've had this discussion with him before. And I understand that, that's it, he lives in that building. I understand where he's coming from, but what is it, for the good of the people, what is that law they got, yeah, something, it's hard, you know, this is not gonna be an easy thing to sit up there and talk about. I like the festival, I like the people coming in town, that's why I was playing devil's advocate. You want them in town, you want them in the city. The parks are nice, don't get me wrong, and there is things that you can have at the park
just close it down past his building. You
know
know
it.
it, close it down.
Yes.
So,
Close in the middle of
but he don't run a business
I
out
know
of
that.
this, he just walks his dog where we want.
it. Is he here?
All right. If you don't mind, city manager has a letter to read.
Yeah. Someone contacted me, and they asked me to read this, they weren't able to attend. It says, I'll leave the name out. I was just informed that there was a vote on the agenda at the commission meeting tomorrow night about closure of the road for events held on Front Street. I am unable to attend due to a conflict, but I'd like my voice to be heard. The tourism board has worked tirelessly to make these events a success for the whole town. People came from everywhere to our little corner of the world. All the businesses benefit, and it brings hard-earned dollars to our community. I moved here from Chattanooga, and honestly, there's not much to do here. But these events offer a time where we can come together to celebrate, to see old friends, and to make new ones. It is something we look forward to. The May Blooms Festival was the best yet, and I have no doubt that every upcoming event will be even better. As far as closing one lane and leaving the other one open for traffic, that is a terrible idea. I'm a retired pediatric ICU nurse, and the chances of someone getting hit by a vehicle is not something I want to take a chance on, nor should the town. Closing both lanes from City Hall to Piccadilly Avenue worked well for everyone. Moving it to the parks hurts Front Street businesses and decreases visibility from Highway 27. We have to think about not only Front Street businesses, but to ensure that the participating vendors are successful as well. The logistics of doing the event in the nature park would be a nightmare because there is there's only one visible entrance and exit, and the parking area is very small. Veterans Park is not visible from Highway 27, and the parking is also an issue. I cannot imagine that anyone on the commission would be against helping those businesses and the community that they serve. These festivals, Blooms Festival, Fall Festival, and Christmas, take 3 Saturdays out of 52 weeks in a year. The road is closed from 7:30 to 5 p.m. except for Christmas. These events are planned well in advance for businesses to make accommodations for their customers. Please vote to keep these events on Front Street, closing down 2 lanes of traffic from the courthouse to Piccadilly Avenue. It's about the community as a whole. Spring City needs more events, not less. And hosting these events on Front Street showcase the character and ambiance of our small town and way of life. Thank you. And that was from someone that sent me an email. She asked to be heard. Can I ask a question to the audience? May we just see a show of hands? There's 4 options we have available. One is close down 2 lanes. One's close down 1 lane. One's to take everything to the nature park. One's take everything to Veterans Park. Can the board see who's in favor of what? Because in communication or your thoughts, it may get lost on the message that you're trying to get to the board so they can make a decision.
And
Is there a third option?
yeah.
No festivals at all?
No, I think there's another option as far as closing streets, to close the entire street.
Oh,
all the
yeah.
way down to Jackson,
Oh, yeah.
from Jackson to Piccadilly.
And that has complications too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think what we got works, and Ace does a lot of business now, that place is packed all weekend long. And,
Yeah.
and Hassler's, you want them to be,
We
They
want
had
people
to-
to succeed.
we want Hassler, because there's a lot of people in this town that are older, that I've known, like Johnny said, for years. You want them to be able to get in there and like it, and we did get accommodated by Gina several years as long as we left Jackson open.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
West Ray open, up the middle.
Yeah.
But I think what we got works. It's just getting over the hump of everybody's gonna have to listen to a little bit of stuff that they don't want to listen to.
So with a show of hands, who would be for closing closing down both lanes from, what is that? Piccadilly to City Hall.
That's what it is now, right?
That's what it was on Blues Festival, just like it was, no different, just like it was last Blues Festival.
That's just about everybody here.
Okay,
Okay,
done deal.
so
Done deal.
who is for one lane open through City Hall to Piccadilly?
Our last parade somebody got ran over with both lanes.
I've
I
got
was
it.
there down the one.
And it was an adult.
Yeah. We need two.
Who is for the festivals to be held at the nature park? Who is for the festivals being held at the Veterans Park? Okay, well, I think that,
Now, we got an answer. To finish this up, two people that's very important to me, and they don't live in Spring City, they live in Dayton. One gentleman I have grown to be highly fond, highly respectable, because he is a mentor that has guided me through a lot doing this. He don't live in Spring City, he lives in Dayton. He came to Spring City. And his comment was, cause you got to know this guy. And you want your feelings hurt, he can hurt you. He said that was the best thing that he'd ever been to. Miss Michelle was at the same meeting I was at. He don't like live music, but he loved our band that we had. Said the best thing that ever happened. Another lady, some of you may know her, Miss Blevins, she's in all the events that goes on throughout Ray County. Her words were before the meeting, her words were during the meeting, that the Spring City Blues Festival was far more one of the best things that she had been to. She liked how the street was set up and closed off. So with that being said, Lord, you've seen what the people has done to raise their voice to do. We put this on the agenda to make a decision next week. Yes or no? But right now, you tell them it's gonna be from the City Hall to Piccadilly will be blocked off at the festival.
And you're gonna have, you need to set, you really need to say days. You need to have it like say, at least 5 days. That gives you some room in case.
What do you mean, advance? What do you?
Well, not
I'm
advanced,
trying-
like if somebody, all right, you got 3 events. We
Right,
hold 3 major events in the town.
right.
You need to add 2 just in case
Uh-oh.
something happens.
So adding more.
5 days,
Well, you
that
have
people
like
have
the
the streets closed.
Yeah, possibly 5 days,
Potentially,
3,
yes.
possibly 5. That way you cover your backside and say, the Red Dogs won the state championship.
Right.
Bulldogs won the state championship, whatever. That way you can work, you don't have to work it in. It's there and right. That's just my personal opinion on that.
Great.
And you can go more than 5. 5's just a
Number.
Like,
And
and if I'm not mistaken, this would be a resolution, correct?
Yes, no, it'll be a resolution, and if you need to ever change or modify it, you would change it case by case with a simple majority vote. So it would more or less just be this is what we're doing, and you guys can always change your mind, put your boards in there, or you all like what's going on, and you say, this is not working, we're gonna do this instead. It's always changeable, nothing's written in stone, and you guys have the authority to change it anytime you want.
And Thomas, I want to.
It was about the
express
same
appreciation-
thing, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
want to express appreciation to you for having the people who are here, let us know what preference they have, because that's the main thing.
I got a question. Okay, say, I'm just using this example. Say Johnny Golf wants to have a benefit for a kid down here. It's in the hospital, dying or something other like that. Is he still gonna be able to have a benefit down there at that, depot for that kid?
yes, you know, all he has to do is go to City Hall and fill out his paperwork, that he's gonna have an event or something or other, and he can use that property. We're not shutting off events or anything like that. Stuff like that, we do have stuff in play where they go by City Hall.
And it's a case by case basis. It's
Yeah,
not-
sir, if he was gonna have an event, probably one of the parks would be a really good place for him, because there's pavilions and stages and stuff, but for city ran events or chamber events where the whole community comes in, which that would be too, but this is pretty much just setting the groundwork of what do we do moving forward? You know, we closing one street, or we closing the whole thing, we closing everything, or are we going to here? It's just more of a,
That's a parameter type thing.
yeah, more like a framework of, this is what everybody decided.
But he's wanting to know if he wants to come up and do like the lady sells hot dogs for peddler's permit. More or less. That's what he done one Saturday.
Case by case.
Yeah, okay.
That would be closing the street.
That wouldn't, no, it ain't close.
And I
They're
think,
just like a man does it for nothing, don't get nothing out of it. Gives every penny that he takes in to that fountain. He shouldn't even have to buy a permit to set up down there. I mean, that's just my opinion.
That's a case by
Case
case.
by
I
case.
do.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. If it's a,
But-
And, yeah, they can work that.
yeah, that's a legitimate.
and I think mostly the benefits are held at the parks, at one of the parks, usually Veterans Park, aren't they?
But Johnny comes up, sets up his grill and has barbecue. He's not having a
It's not
band,
like-
Oh, it's not,
he's
yeah.
just setting up over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
some of them people that comes to buy his barbecue, I know, I've been to him, he'll tell you, I go to just about all of them I can. You'll see somebody stroll out, go in the store, go in Hassler,
Yeah.
go in Ace. So I just, still yet, that's helping them.
Yes, ma'am?
I was just wondering, could whoever's gonna put on the festival have, tell the businesses and let the people know, like a week or so ahead of time, not a couple days?
Well, we're working on that process. That has been a hindrance of a lot. We have tried our best to do much, much better by notification, let people know when it's coming on. But now sometimes in case, and I'm gonna throw this out, as a family emergency, Johnny may decide that I had a crisis today, he's gonna have something Saturday. Today's Thursday, so Saturday, he's gonna throw it together. Well, he's gonna be cooking. You know, the social media does that stuff, but our big events,
Our worst thing is we're gonna have to quit living in the past and bringing up junk that's already happened and move forward from today. That's the problem with social media and all this crap. We're doing a lot better as far as notifying. It ain't where, it may not be where it should be, but it's gonna get to where it should be. But you cannot just keep harping on the same thing over and over and over and over. You gotta let something go every now and then. We're all grown ass adults. Every one of us in this room. Excuse my language.
I mean, for the most part, I know that they do send out notifications. There is signage up on Front Street, on both sides of Front Street. If the person that has complained is out walking a dog or whatever, they're gonna see those signs. They're gonna know when that is. So there's multiple means.
It's not that he don't know, it's the
And have
inconvenience.
I get it, but I mean, there is notification, so.
It's part of the application that you have to do the neighbor letter.
Even when I was on the tourism board, we were letting people know way more than even a month in advance. And sometimes stuff gets changed like that, but again, Balloons Festival, it's the same date, so we can keep the sign, you know, for the last 3 years, it's been the same. So I don't think it should be a surprise to anybody.
And for the Balloon Festival, we did hand out the letters 2 months in advance.
okay.
I personally delivered those letters.
Alright.
To the businesses downtown.
Okay.
Two of
Did you
them
wanna say
were
something?
angry with me because we were shut.
Miss Hager had something?
Oh, I tend to ramble, so I wrote mine out so that wouldn't happen. So I wouldn't take up too much time, but just kind of about the closures. If it's okay, I was gonna read that real quick. All right, I absolutely understand the concerns that come with closing streets, and I believe everyone here wants what is best for our city. However, I also believe these events are one of the most valuable tools we have for building tourism, supporting local businesses, and creating the kind of welcoming small town atmosphere we say we want for our future. When events are held downtown, they're visible. People driving through town see activity, energy, and community involvement. They see vendors, families, music, decorations, and businesses that make our town feel alive. That visibility matters. If all events are moved exclusively into the parks, they're hidden away from the main roads. This way we lose one of our greatest marketing tools. Visitors cannot support events they never see. Many people stop simply because they pass through town and notice something happening there. That spontaneous tourism benefits restaurants, shops, gas stations, and future visitation. We've often talked about growing tourism and creating the kind of charming, memorable destination people associate with a hallmark town. Those towns are not built around empty downtown streets. They're built around active main streets filled with festivals, parades, markets, and community traditions. Downtown events also create a sense of identity and pride for residents. They bring people together in the heart of the city rather than separating activities away from local businesses and historic areas. The downtown area should be showcased, not bypassed. I do not suggest streets should be constantly closed or that concerns about traffic and inconvenience should be ignored. But a few carefully planned closures throughout the year for major community events are a reasonable investment in the city's growth, tourism, and long-term image. Parks absolutely have an important role and are wonderful assets for many activities. But downtown events serve a different purpose. They create visibility, economic activity, and community energy that parks cannot simply provide. I encourage each of you to continue supporting responsible downtown events and street closures as part of our vision for a vibrant and thriving community. That was all.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see you all take under consideration of throwing out candy from floats and things before we do get in child. I've seen them run right out to the wheels off.
Ma'am, that is something that has been announced and addressed at every parade in the state of Tennessee. Now, recommendations is that you do get somebody to walk along beside the floats to toss the candy outward away from it. A few cities that has parades has barriers put up, rope barriers that you have to stay behind. If the candy falls on the inside of that line, you better not go outside to get it, because they've got these little people standing watching, and they write people citations for.
I've seen them run right out.
Well, I rode in the parade, Strawberry Festival, and yes, ma'am, we had the flag football team throwing our candy and stuff out. They didn't pay down with one more iota of attention. They were running between them, between their feet, and just grabbing candy that was already there prior to. So you can make the ruling to tell everybody not to throw candy, and then every of them 2,000 youngins that showed up and their parents is gonna give you down the road because you didn't throw candy.
Yeah, but they'd be getting you down the road if the child was run over.
Well, they do that too. So it's a one of them 50-50 things to address. It always has been said by the parade hosters, they prefer you not, but it's gonna happen.
It don't make any difference what you tell them.
No, ma'am.
That's what the kids come to the parade for.
Patty, think about what you just said.
What I just said.
They don't pay any attention.
One more and then I gotta move on. I'm sorry.
Well, then let Rob go.
Well, Candy and I probably have the same thing. We really need to get to the water issue because that's really important. I also think that this is important as well. I had 9 members of the community write me letters, so I can give you all those letters. But I thank you for voting for keeping the streets closed. I've been here. I started tomorrow's my birthday. I'll be in the town for 19 years now. So Roger, go to the if you want. Sure, Roger. Kevin, you got it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
There you go, Kevin. I won't shoot you off. But, my family and I, we started going here to events here when we did the lighting of the depot. A lot of us not even
old enough to walk, yeah, my oldest daughter, and there were probably about 10 people there. The autumn festival was 15 floats and the pumpkin blow up. The town is growing. We need to preserve how the town's growing. It needs to be planned out. It needs to be like we're doing now. I think communication is key. I just think we're doing a good job. I understand that there's issues with people owning buildings and living there, but our town is doing a great job of what we're doing. We're seeing a lot of growth. There's a lot of people coming in that want to live here. There's a lot of people that are starting to open up businesses. I know some businesses are closing, and it's hurting because of the economy right now. Families are hurting as it is, but we did just have one of the largest events we've ever had before, and it's a great event. So those are all from all different people. But if you'll just pass them around and read them out whenever you can. So I just told them I would bring it to you all. So, thank you.
Can I say something just really quick? Sorry, it's really quick, Kevin. It goes with what Kevin said about the old stuff has got to go. And I think if that's something that the city, the chamber, tourism, if there's a way that you guys can get us all together in one of these workshops and let us all just come together and work together, I know that we're open for that, so we can move on forward all
I'll
together.
do it while I'm at work.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
I'll take it.
I'm tired of being the go-between. No, it is, that's what we need to do. I mean, I know I get a little heated about some things, but we're all grown enough. We need to move on and do what's best, and that's why I got into this crap to start with, excuse me. That's why I got in here to start with, is to try to make it better, because,
And then that's why you ran again.
yeah,
so-
and that way I could keep a headache 9 out of 10 days.
Exactly. So
Did you hire a fire all out the first time?
Well, I had that stuff gone before I got in here. I knew it was no good.
I would like to speak as a business owner on Front Street, if that's possible at all. It's very quick. But, I mean, I am a Spring City resident. My husband is a lifelong Spring City resident. We do own a building on Front Street. We do operate out of business out of that building. So when the roads are blocked, it is, we are blocked from we have never had a problem with it. In fact, it helps us. It helps our business. We do have tenants upstairs, and when we did have our tenants downstairs, it helped their business. Well, at least one of them, the other did it, wouldn't have mattered. And when we're not even advertising the bottom space for rent, and we have people reaching out constantly to rent those spaces. We turn down a lot of them because they're not the business we want in Spring City or right there in that property. But one of the questions that's asked by restaurants often is, is there enough traffic there? We want traffic there. And so this is traffic there. When you have these events, you have these festivals, you bring these people in, this is traffic to those businesses. So for us, it has been a very positive experience, and I feel like that's important when you're hearing other negative experiences from business owners on Front Street.
Like I said, it ain't business owners as much as it is the gentleman that owns. Yeah, it's the only person that I know that we hamstringed with that was Evelyn, because they couldn't take her stuff out the back door. I believe we made,
Make concessions.
yeah, for her to get that, so. Let's get on with this water tonight.
I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
Y'all got
and
the
giving us
best money.
And I just want to make one comment before we shut this off. I like Kevin's idea of setting aside 3 to 5 days. If we knew what those days were in advance,
Yes.
then nobody could say they didn't know about it. If we publicize these are the days that are set aside for festivals. And
I should have been more clear, but that's what I was meaning. You set it for the balloons, you know when it is, you know when that is, you know when the light of the depot is. I mean,
just set those days aside and that way there's no question about when they are.
And we do have ours cleaned out for
yeah, everybody does, and we know that. Water.
Okay. Number 3, discussion proposed ordinance 0/2026-6, an ordinance amending the water and sewer rate schedule for funding the water tank repairs and maintenance. The fund options to be discussed is number A, is amended ordinance 0-2026-6 that includes the sunset language for temporary front-loading portion of 15% of the water sewer rate increase. B, establish a tank maintenance fee based on the Utility Service Company Incorporated contract costs, including estimate of for roofing repair, broken down and budgeted year with the number of customers. C is establish a flat tank maintenance fee based on the finance of the remaining contract, amount of the estimated Hillcrest roof repair through the Tennessee Municipal Board funds at a assumed 3.97% interest rate, resulting in an estimated tank fee range of $14.27 to $14.41 per customer per month during the full annual payment years.
Thank you, Mayor. Everybody, I was told by a good businessman that we to tell a story and let everybody know that where we're coming from and where we're going. Last meeting, everyone was saying that the rates were so high and that they were being ran out of town. One thing that I would like to say is that, our rates are $22 per 1,000 gallons, and for 2,000 gallons, it'll be $36. For the 1,000 gallons, I have with me all the utilities that I could find that have rates set up. For Alpha Utility District, we're 22, they're 21. Anderson County Water Authority, they're 21. Arthur Swanee Utility District, they're 26. Bean Station, they're 24. The next one's 22. The next one's 31. The next one's 41. The next one's 53. The next one's 16. The next one's 20. The other one's 19. The other one's 24. The other one's 21. And this goes on like that. So all utilities have the same problem of aging infrastructure. So what we talked about the last meeting, we listened to. We went through, and I discussed this with the board, with the finance director. We went through all of our options because we listened. And the amount of money that has to be spent on the tanks didn't change. But the question is how do we fund it? There's different ways. And as the mayor alluded to, there are three options that's going up in front of the board that I'm going to ask them to vote on to move forward to go on the agenda. The first one is a sunset language, that the idea of a sunset, so that once the money for the tank contract is no longer needed, that rate increase sunsets and goes away. And that's very fair. So the rate increase would be to cover the amount of the contract per year for the tank maintenance fee. With that, the contract ratchets itself down because it's front loaded. It's not a 10-year, no interest payment plan. We're very lucky. It's $1.1 million. Make sure that number's right. Yeah, $1.14 million over a 10-year with a front load in the very beginning. For the first 5 years, we're already 1 year in. We're starting our second year, and we're funding it now. Before it was being funded out of savings. We're not quite sure that you can do that because it's a maintenance. You can do it for capital, but I don't know if you do it for maintenance. So I don't think we can continue doing it out of savings. I think we have to actually fund it through rates and maintenance. So that's what made this complication. That's why this came up. So long story short, with three options, one is the sunset on the 15%. Have it sunset down in 2030, 2031, whenever the contract itself ratchets down. It'll be equivalent to $143,000 or about 7.5%, because on the rates, we get around $1.9 million for the rates that we charge all the customers. Now with that, you divide that out by the 1,035 customers, every $19,000 is a 1% rate increase. So if we need $19,000, which raises the rate by 1%, and you can multiply it out or divide it out by how much you need, divided by 19, that tells you your percent. And that's where the 15 came from. sunset, so it'll slowly sunset. The second option is a tank maintenance fee, which is just simply the contract cost broke down over the years for each tank, broke down by the year and the budget year, where they need to recover $188,000 to cover the contract, and that's annual. If you divide that by 12 months, and you divide it by the 1,035 customers, that comes out to be $15.20 for a tank maintenance fee. And that's option B. So option B is that you have a tank maintenance fee. However, it begins to ratchet itself down. Now, there is a caveat to that because another tank gets worked on in 2030. So that makes it go up by $2 for that 1 year, but then it drops down. So you have 3 years of $15.20, then you have 1 year of $17 for a tank maintenance fee, and then you have 4 years of $6.18, and then 1 year in 2034-35 of $4.32. So what this does is it basically takes the exact contract cost to repair these tanks, and it pushes it out over the 10 years, and then it takes each one of those and breaks it down to a month, and then it assigns it to each active water service. Whenever we say that it's community owned, that's what it means. It means that everyone here that's a water customer owns it. And if we had, let's say, a shared vehicle, and we had to get the oil changed, we would share that cost, so we would split that. So that's what it means whenever I say community owned. It doesn't mean it's yours, it means it's yours. Okay. So there it is. Option B is a tank maintenance fee for $15 for 3 years, $17 for 1 year, and then $6 for 4 years until it goes away. And by then, the tanks need to be repainted anyway, so you'll get it all over again. So it's never going to go away, and it's just one of those things. So the third option, option C, is we go borrow money. We go borrow $1.4 million over 10 years and do a $14 tank maintenance fee for 10 years, basically. The first year will be interest only, so it'll be kind of cheap, but then you have $14. It kind of fluctuates by a few pennies all the way through, but it's pretty steady at $14. But the problem with this, and the problem that I have with it is that you're paying $342,000 in interest. That's money that could have went to anything, but you burned it on interest. And out of that $14, about $2.90-something of that was burned up in interest payments alone. So you're paying 14, which is more steady throughout the years. There's no jump to 17 on year 4, but you're paying $3 of that in interest, and that money's gone forever. The banks do that. And we've talked about it. The roof repair has came in, and it said it was supposed to be 250 to 315 was the budget estimate that I was given. But after they got looking at it and the way that it's structured, and no engineer would sign off on it in the cheap way that I wanted to do, so it wound up being $405,000. Brenda and I spoke with MTAS, which is a Municipal Technical Advisory Service through UT, through their finance department, and we also spoke with our auditors to see if we could pay that out of the reserve funds and not be negative that year in cash flow. Because that's a big deal. You have to go in front of a board and explain yourself and do a rate study, and then they'll reset the rates. And we don't want to go through all that because the rate study alone is going to be $30,000. And this is a community-owned water system, so you'll be paying $30,000 there. So what we decided was that we can take the $405,000 out of general fund, not general, I'm sorry, take that back, out of reserve fund, which is our savings, and pay that. That offsets the tank maintenance cost, because then your only cost is going to be the actual contract itself. So on the agenda that you were given or that came out, these numbers were higher. They were at $17, but now they're at $15, and the $19 went down to $17. The $8 went down to $6. So because the roof repair has been taken out of that. So what this does is it spreads it out over 10 years over everybody by a month. And the one that I'm going to recommend to the board is that it's option B. And even if somebody else is managing the contract, just as a pass-through, monthly tank maintenance fee of $15.20 every month. And
Added to your bill, it's
Yeah.
$15.
Yeah,
Is that what the fee one is?
yes, sir. It'll be added to your bill, tank maintenance fee. And the thing about this is that in time, it ratchets down. It's just front loaded. I talked to the company that is giving us the interest-free 10-year with the front load. If they could do a 10-year or a 9-year, just all the way through, just blend it all for one price, just divide it by 10 or 9 years, whatever's left. And they wouldn't do it. They said that the risk is so high there with $1.1 million with no interest on it, that the risk is too much for them as is. And the guy went to bat for us. We set our piece, and they can't do it. So we're with a signed contract, and it's a monthly tank fee is the one that I'm going to recommend. And there will be, of course, the mandated 3% on the rates for inflation. That's set up through ordinance, so that's set up already. So it'll be a $15.20 tank maintenance fee that covers just these tanks. And with these tanks, just know, we didn't kick the can down the road. They're actually facing what they're supposed to do. They're doing what's right. And that's the hard part about doing anything, really, is that it costs money, and money's worth less nowadays. And we also make the same, but everything seems to cost more. You can go to Taco Bell and $30. So we apologize for the rate increase and the monthly tank fee, but it is 100% as transparent as it can be with the cost per month, per tank, total amount needed, divided by the amount of customers, divided by the month. It's a straight pass-through. It's exactly what the contract is. There's no gain, there's no loss. It's just the cost of it.
Is being in, is the big cost in, like in the,
I can't hear you.
does the
Yes,
cost of being?
yeah, it is, it's on, well, you ain't got to find it, it is.
Well, but
It don't end.
it doesn't end.
She's saying does B end?
B does have an end at 10 years. It does, but then you'll have to do another
You're gonna have to
contract.
do it over.
What are we paying the annual fee for?
The annual, what do you mean? The
That
annual
we're
fee,
paying to this company?
the annual fee is, all right, we'll start with Hillcrest tank. The total for Hillcrest tank is $464,560 to do the repairs and 10 years of continual maintenance, inspections, washouts, cleanouts, and touch-ups. That's for the 10 years for Hillcrest for $464,000. They have done a front loaded of 1, 2, 3, 4 years of 90,000, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of 20,000 that equals the 460. So normally what you do is you hire an engineer to come out and inspect your tank. Once he inspects the tank, he gives you an engineer recommendation on what needs to be done. Then you bid it out with that engineer recommendation, and 4 or 5 tank companies bid on it. And when they bid on it, they say it'll be $500,000. It'll be $600,000. And they come in, they sandblast it, they get it down to bare metal, they repair all the spots that you weld it to get structural integrity, then they put epoxy paint on it. Then they walk away. What this company does is it does all that, plus it does a maintenance contract on it too, where they come once a year, wash the tank out, inspect the tank, make any repairs of chip paint or things that would potentially be a problem, and they do that for the entire 10 years. That's the maintenance cost. That's the maintenance cost you pay every year. It isn't $90,000 for them coming and inspecting it. It's the 400 and something thousand for the paint job, and they also warranty that for 10 years. And they come out every year and do touch-ups on it, do inspections on it, because every tank, every 5 years is required by the state to be inspected and to pass those inspections. And the state checks those during our sanitary surveys. So I hope that answers your question. That's what it did. What was your question? Say it again then. I'll try again. I got all night.
Okay, so, did you say $188,000 a year that we pay in the contract?
She's wanting to know about the contracts.
She's
What-
talking about the maintenance, I think the maintenance.
The maintenance contract
that we have now.
that the city signed with them. No.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, what I'm gonna ask,
This right here. Total contract. This is your. Well, this is my power, it's that one acre, and that's if it all doesn't back down, we're both all the million, divided out over 2 years, that's great.
I'm like you, I don't know, like,
We should have to go to one. But it said, they said, we'll stretch this out for you over 10 years. Because we're gonna look at this. And that's why the 188 is actually 10 years worth stretched out to the slope right here. 188, then it drops down to 76. So this all adds up to 1 million, which is 1.1 million.
Okay,
You can use the savings to do the roof repair as a capital asset in, long, as long as it adds life or, depreciation to the asset, like if it's a tank or a pump or something, you can do, certain things, but maintenance has to be budgeted. And I think that you put,
I don't know what we had in savings, but you said 1.4 was what you needed.
yeah,
Borrow from the bank and that was $300,000 interest. Could the city not make a loan to water company and pay the city back the interest?
you can,
Maybe do a half amount, like maybe the city could make 150,000 and instead of 300.
but why would we do that if we have an interest-free loan with the company already taking it out on 10 years with no interest? And they're fine with a monthly payment of 188,000, because we'd be paying that to ourselves, but with interest, so then you'd be transferring water fund money from enterprise fund to, the general fund, which would be fine. But we already have an interest-free loan with them for about over 10 years for payments already,
But I thought you said.
and you still gotta raise rates to cover it. So you would just be raising water rates to shuffle money into the general fund if you were to do that.
But wouldn't that go to C? Wouldn't that,
I don't recommend C.
what you were talking about, borrow the money, is that A, B, or C?
The borrow the money with C, I don't recommend
So
C.
what I'm saying, if you want to borrow it from the savings and you charge less interest, so the
You
payment.
can't
would
get
be
the charge
less.
going rate interest, and you would pay an extra $3 on that tank maintenance fee, you still have to fund it. We've done the numbers, we've spent,
You have to, your fund, each fund has to be sustainable to each fund. You can't be taking money from the general fund, put over towards the water and sewer fund.
Well, it would be a loan for the city to work.
but you would be paying an extra $3 a month, you still got to fund it, because it's still maintenance. So there's, even though it's a borrow, you would pay the company the whole 1.14 million, and then you would, have to do the extra $3 on tank maintenance fee, that would then just go into the general fund, which would be a good way, I guess, to make money from people, but we don't want, we would straight pass through.
For the part, the big option, in my opinion, it's unfair to the elderly, single people who don't use much water. You know, it's just, because
We thought 50% was not fair to the people like your company, who use a lot of water. So we're trying to be fair all the way around, but everyone.
And with the 15% rate increase, you gotta remember, it was on water and on sewer. So people that use only sewer will be paying for tanks. And it may not be as clean as it should be. It is something that you can do, because you can word it as that money all goes in one pot. So that money can go towards or as a we borrow money and it's a more even, but you pay the extra $342,000 over 10 years. But we thought of that and we said, well, wait, we already have an interest-free loan because they did it for us. They just gave it to us as a payment plan and they already did it for us with no interest. So it has to be funded either way.
That's not in opposition to that. It's like, for us, we have 5 sources, so we'll be paying 5 times the 15.
Well, you'll be paying $7,000 otherwise, right? So I think
It's
it's
a
probably
much
better.
it's a much better situation for us, but I'm talking about people who, my concern is the people who can't afford
Well,
their
you know,
water bill anyway. I mean, to help people.
I've never done that. But that's the problem. It doesn't fit everybody. You got these nice ladies and gentlemen get to make a hard decision. I wouldn't want to be in their position, but if I was, I'd choose B because it actually is the cleanest, most transparent way. It's just the cost of the contract divided out by the people and paid as it goes down. The costs automatically go down. With the sunset, of the 50% and the sunset, what if in 2031 another disaster happens and I have to raise rates by 8% and I have to reduce rates by 7.5% because I've agreed to it, and now I've only raised rates by 0.5%. Everybody's like, look at this guy, look what a liar he is. And so but this way, as it ratchets down independently on its own and by itself. And there is nothing that fits everybody. That's the thing. And when we thought about how to loan money, how to borrow money, we even got Tennessee Municipal League to give us debt tables, and we put a lot in it. We've listened to what everybody has said, and I would recommend B. But everybody has their own opinion, and it will ultimately be the board's decision.
So will that be just a line that says take maintenance fee on your bill?
Yeah, if we can make it fit. We don't quite know.
We talked with the government about that, and, it may say other or something like that. We can't control what it actually says, but it will be.
It'll be that showing that
Yes,
15
it
or
will
6
notify the customer ahead of time that, hey, come up, what the amount is, and that's what this is on the bill.
Okay. So I mean, it's cut and dried, it's not murky as to what it actually is.
It might look like it's like, so we only allow 6 spaces, so some people have 6, so it's gonna take a couple of them and add them together and put up. So it may be fresh pickup, tax, and then that. So it might say $18 or something instead of the 15, but that's because it's added the state tax and everything, because we're only limited to so much space.
So leave lines.
Yes.
For individuals that are concerned that are on a fixed income, I know that we have certain funds and certain people that do emergency grants. Would you mind helping, on that side of the house for individuals that are already identified, they're on an emergency grant or emergency funds that's smallest? Would you mind helping with, go to here for emergency relief if they're unable to? Just what, because if you make an announcement, if you can't pay your bill, everybody needs help with that free bill, but if you mind helping with finding those different resources as well.
They already do that.
Yeah.
We have someone who comes in, they direct, like I said, we'll help them.
We have a list. That does come up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The company that we're in contract with to do the services, is it the same company that we've already been contracted with? And we supplied one of the utility districts as well, right? With water, we supply one of the utilities. Where is that being factored in for them?
The fee is, I guess, it would be $15. We only did it on active meters, so.
So I'm gonna be paying,
But-
I haven't been on the water bill, I was paying the same that they do to supply all of North Ray County.
So that's active meters. Are we gonna active meter them? Are we?
Their water is metered, yes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what we're
We pay per meter.
And they,
What he's saying, how many meters do they supply? Are you gonna,
oh, I don't know. All I know is that
why do you think it's
Well-
100? Are you $150 or $150?
we will give every active account will have $50.20.
So how do we not know what that we already know what the fee will be for the 1,035.
I don't really.
They've got a meter,
They
right?
have one meter.
One meter.
They
So they're
have
gonna
one
get
meter.
sorry, they're gonna get one $15 charge.
They're under, I know what you're saying. You're saying a big water user, hit them hard, lower the price for everybody. But the thing of it is that they're under a contract, and we can look at their contract when it comes up, and we can raise that.
That was made, what, 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
That
So I
we
mean,
done with
it's
it.
on the table.
So what-
Everything's on the table.
So what is the length of their contract then? Is it a 5, 10, 20?
I've never read it.
It's a mutual aid agreement.
Yeah, it's,
How we not, I mean.
I've been here like
No,
7 months.
we
So
get
how
what
about,
you're
you know,
But I've been to 2 meetings,
You know.
these are questions I'm asking.
yeah, so I don't really know, it's one of the things that I know that we're forced to do to fund something that nobody likes to do. And we can, have a lot of ideas. And
I'm not even
we listen to the ideas.
sure about it, but I'm not, they come in here and ask, and we never get the back information. We never got the back information from the last city manager. And I'm gonna go back to the one thing I hate. She done a contract with the trash pickup without running it back through us, because they were doing such a good job. That's what we were dealing with. That's how we don't know a lot of this stuff. We didn't get a lot of back information. They come in here and ask for something, and then we sign a deal because they needed water.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that you inherit crap.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I'm going to my boss, and I'm asking for $1 million, I'm gonna know where every bit of the resources are going to. I'm gonna know what the length of the contract is for the people that I'm supplying it for. I'm gonna know how that's gonna be divided up to be paid for. I understand.
And you're
the
right.
Increase is imminent. It's coming.
You're right. And I would have done that, but the contract was signed before I got here. This is what we're dealing with is now, is that we can't fund it how it was originally designed to be funded, because it has to be funded through rates and not through savings. So initially, the plan was to fund it through savings, but you're not allowed to. So we're having to redo it, and we're gonna do it, I'm hoping, as option B is what I'm recommending. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect. And we can
Maybe I
raise,
can ask a
and we
question.
can raise their rates later on if there's a need to.
What, they don't get money, if you can explain, theirs is a mutual aid. It's not like they're getting money water all the time from us.
Yeah, they don't get constant water.
It's not
They
constant.
got their own water.
Yeah, they got their own.
Yeah.
They get water from Rockwood, they have their own labs, they get water. from-
Yeah, ours is just in case something happens.
Mutual
They-
aid
It's
is,
like an emergency.
Yeah.
It's not like a money maker, it's a.
And
Better
we-
better explain.
yeah, that's why I wanted you to say
We
mutual
don't
aid.
sell them
It's
water.
not a steady usage.
Sure, I get that.
It's just like if they have water, if their water goes down, if there's
There's a fire.
whatever, it's same thing as with mutual aid, like when we had the train derailment or the flooding, is all these other agencies come, but so it's not, yeah, so they're not getting water every day.
Yeah, they're
It's
not
just-
buying, they're not getting water like I get water, you get water, or Howard gets water.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we not eligible for grants for this? Because when I'm looking it up, it looks like there's 6 of it. I mean, not that these would all be available to us, I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
What are they? What grants?
This is the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, see that? Then there's the,
What grant is, what is, I know who it's from, but is
Oh.
it like an ARPA grant, the
yes,
shovel ready
this one is
project?
for, state water infrastructure grant. And specifically because we are a, low population rural area with, underserved, we supposedly we are great candidates for it. There's one for, rural development water and waste disposal program through the USDA Tennessee Water and Waste
What
Disposal
does it
Program.
cover, does it say?
Long-term, low-interest loans combined with direct grants to finance drinking water storage, distribution, and system-wide improvements like updating 1,300 meters of smart digital systems.
Yeah, we're doing an SRF, that's an SRF program, an SRF loan, we're doing one of those, an application is in for the water treatment plant, that also needs some repair as well, so we're working on one of those right now, but it's a loan, and it is a low interest.
This
But,
one is a $1 million grant, Tennessee Community Development Block Grant, administered by the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. It targets rural water, sewer, and health safety infrastructure. It says we were awarded at one point.
Yeah, we've been awarded $1 million for the Cumberland Trail project for the CDBG. You can do one CDBG a year, and this one is tied up in the Cumberland Trail because after the ARPA money, which was, was what they did Tennessee Avenue with, is that year that it was given by the federal to the state, then to the counties, and to the cities, direct allocations, they weren't approving CDBGs for utilities anymore. But normally, every city I've worked for, we always use CDBG for infrastructure repairs. Now, this is a maintenance, so it's different. If you're gonna build a tank, it'll cover it. But
So these other ones that say maintenance, we've already used them or we can't use them?
send them to me.
I will, yeah, I'm
I'll
just
get all-
curious, I don't know.
I mean, you're hitting me cold. You're like reading your phone.
I know,
Like,
I am.
it's
No,
one grant's free
yeah,
money.
it's
And
fine.
I'm like,
I
I don't
just
know
know
about it.
nobody
discussed applying for grants, so.
That's why I'm asking, and then also, I feel like it's important to have all that information and the answer to the questions that we don't know
Right
before
now-
we make a vote on something
right
like this,
now-
or.
Right now, we have about, I guess, I'd say 10 grants that we're working right now. And there are millions of dollars. So we have grant administrators, we have people that help us with grants, and grants are available, we do go for it. I mean, we're just doing one as an application for Safe Streets for All, which is a road grant to pave roads. So there's lots of grants out there, they take years to get. They are not tomorrow kind of things, and your water tank has holes in it, you're letting rainwater in. So I don't know if we wanna wait, we want to
One of
two
these
years.
grants are for infrastructure, that means the lines will make the ground, just like in Tennessee, it's free, that's an infrastructure grant.
So,
The tanks are for maintenance work, they don't do grants, most of these, they expect you to have depreciation money to be able to cover all of that. But, as time goes along, they can happen. So nobody's ever done this.
no, we do it a lot, we do it a lot. This is different, this is different. I wish it could, what would have been an option?
Do you have pictures? Do you have videos?
They did a whole presentation a year ago, and they did the contract, so that was already done, and, I mean, I believe them. I don't have to look at it and say, oh, this looks bad. It's just, they did an RFQ, which is a request for qualification. They chose the lowest bid, they chose the company that they wanted to use. The price is the price, and the legitimate prices for Hillcrest tank is $464,000 to paint and inspect it for the next 10 years. The Back Valley tank is $210 to paint, sandblast, and inspect it for 10 years. The Clearwell is $471,000 to repair the concrete and inspect it for 10 years, wash it out, clean it, do the reports, turn them in, the sanitary surveys, and all that adds up to $1.1 million. It's just 3 tanks all at once. Now, they had another contract with Southern Corrosion before. I guess their contract was up, and their contract, just like when this one's up, in 10 years, we're gonna say, well, why do you think it's bad condition? Why they got it repainted? They were painted a little while ago. Well, it was 10 years ago they were painted. And now their contract will be up soon, in 10 years, and we'll be right back here saying, this tank needs painting. This tank needs this maintenance. This tank is already 50 years old, and it's getting thin metal, so now we gotta do this. So it'll be the same conversation 10 years from now on these tanks. It'll be, well, why did, utility services, let the tank get like that? Well, they painted it 10 years ago, and every 10 years you gotta paint it, so it's gonna keep coming up. This isn't something that nobody knew about. They already had them under contract, and they got rid of that contract because it was time to repaint them, and it's a maintenance item. And, most grants, it changed a little bit with COVID, with ARPA money. They started getting money for shovel-ready projects. So if you had a project you were just waiting on doing, shovel-ready, they would let you do that project. But for maintenance, majority of grants, they want you to support it with your rate structure and not rely on the grants. That's what I've always been told.
The thing is, water has to support itself. Water has to pay for itself, according to the state law. And you can't, as they said, you can't mix funds, you can't take from general fund and put in water fund. the water has to stand alone and it has to support itself. And you have to make a profit every year, and I believe Thomas, mentioned the rate study, that the state would come in and require you to do a rate study. Well, we were required to do a rate study several years ago, cost $25,000 to do that rate study, and then, they made a recommendation to jack our prices up, I forget how much, which we actually did not do, but because we didn't want to charge customers that much more. But, that's what they will do, and if they tell you you have to do something, then by George, you have to do it.
Yes, sir.
My father always told me to begin with the end in mind. So with that being said, grants for new infrastructure, right? Those are available to us.
If you're invited,
If we build something new.
if you're invited to do it, it is very competitive. I've put in for grants my whole career and I get some, I don't get others. There's other communities out there, there's like, I don't know, there's 300 other utilities out there, but they're all vying for the same dollars. And they have engineering staff, they have in-house grant writers, so they're a little bit more apt to get it because their presentations are better. They pretty much can spend the front end money to sell the idea. We have grant administrators too through Southeast Development District, and they help us a lot. We get a lot of grants. We do very good for ourselves. But when it comes to grants, it's one of those things that we have a lot working right now. We have a lot of grants, and they're slow. I mean, how long has this nature trail been talked about, the Cumberland Trail?
Years.
It
Yeah.
started, at least when I got in 2020.
It's not like what you think. It's not like just, here's some
I don't
money,
think
you guys
it's a
need
snap
it.
your finger and
It's slow. It's just slow.
but, so we've got 50-year-old tanks too, right? Another one's 30.
I believe the Clearwell, I think is 30, and the other two were roughly 50, 49.
So then the RFQ, which is,
Request for qualifications.
okay, so they're looking at quality of the
No.
integrity.
We were looking at the quality of the company that was putting in the do the tank maintenance contract. And they were the ones that were selected based on the quality of their work in previous cities, and they were the ones chosen.
So engineers are looking at which tanks are worse shape, so they're giving us cost for repairs, right? So those, we know those repairs, it's going to continue, degradation is going to continue to happen.
It's like having a car.
Sure. It's going to
You gotta
continue
get
to rust down, it's going to go down. So let's start those new projects for new tank replacement, so that in 20, 30 years, okay, let's say it takes 5 years, let's say it takes 10 years. In 10 years, if we've got a new tank in the process, we're not spending another $225,000 or $400,000 for a 60-year-old tank that has a life expectancy of 50
And we
years.
do that. We do that with our capital maintenance project. But the thing of it is that a new tank is $3 to $4 million. So,
For-
the exact tank I'm talking about is, I mean, it's $460,000 over a 10-year to keep it
1.3
maintained.
for a new tank.
But a new tank is 3 to 4
1.3 plus installation pad, plumbing, all
I
that.
mean, your engineering, your inspection, you'll have 400,000 just in engineering, 400,000 inspection. You have your pad, you run, get fitted, and nothing's getting cheaper. So I've 3 to 4 million for a 750,000 gallon tank. That's why it's cheaper to fix it than it is to put a new one next to it. It's just metal, it just sits there, you just sandblast it, you repaint it, and keep it protected.
What happens when you pressure wash your concrete? Material goes away, right? Same thing with sandblasting metal.
I don't
It's
know.
there.
We're talking about a rate increase. I'll meet with you in my office, we can talk all day. We're holding everybody up. You have great ideas. I don't know where you're going with it.
He's talking about planning ahead to build a tank in 10 years instead
I
of
don't want to be 10
refurbish.
years from now going, oh, let's just paint it again.
You'll just paint it again.
Yeah, no.
That's what you're supposed to do, because
60-year-old.
it can last forever. As long as you take care of it, you can re-weld the bad parts of the metal, you can re-epoxy it, and it'll last forever. To have a new tank on a hill
years it takes to
Not,
get
not
that.
saving money up to build one. He's talking about if you could get the money.
I know,
Yeah.
it makes sense, but here's the thing, there's 100 other needs, there's 100 other things we gotta do. Like, one day we gotta replace our water meters, that's coming up, that's gonna be at least $1.52 million to replace our water meters. That's coming up, you know, they only last so long, that battery will last so long. There's water lines that are leaking, we gotta replace, like on Tennessee Avenue, where they put all their ARPA money into replacing leaking infrastructure. So, the water tank being painted and just held in place, seems like it's not a cobble together, it's just maintaining what you got. And if it's not broke, don't fix it, I can't say that, but you gotta maintain it and keep it running. I mean, it's just a big thing of metal that's painted, but 4 million would have to come in the expense of a grant for something else that we need, and we have other needs. Because the utility is aging every day, and it's not as easy as just one narrow item we're talking about. There's hundreds of things that need to be done. The water plant will have filter media that needs to be replaced. It'll need to have lab equipment replaced. It'll need to have tube settlers replaced one day. It's going to need to have the high service pumps replaced. We're going to have to get lines upgraded if we're ever going to get more water to sell somewhere else. So there's more need out there than just the one narrow tank. And that's what we've been talking about, because this tank maintenance contract is just one little sliver. But utility has about 1,000 moving parts to it, and nothing's cheap. And if we were to get a grant, I would get a grant for a disinfection system for the water treatment plant, because right now they're pumping out 55-gallon barrels because their MIOP system went down a couple of years ago. And we're in the process of getting a state revolving fund application into that. So you have to set your priorities, and there's 1,000 things that you need, and there's like 100 things that you can do. So at the end of my tenure, they'll look back at me and they'll say, look what he didn't do. But the real thing is look what did get done. But that's not how humans work. If you mow the grass perfectly, that one weed that's sticking up is all you notice. And I know that now we're hyper focused on the tank maintenance contract. That's just one of many things that need to be fixed. This is just the first. And we'll continue to look for grants, get repairs, and it'll never stop. Because if it was easy, they wouldn't need anybody. It was easy.
Go ahead.
You get plastic tanks?
Did
No.
we not get a report from the people that had the prior contract,
Yes, they get them every year.
annual, to see what they did while they had the contract?
The water plant has them, the council's seen them, they get it every year. I mean,
I'm talking about the people that had the previous contract.
they did inspections too.
But that guy told us that night that they had not been doing any maintenance.
I've seen some of them, so yeah, I've seen them. They do them every year, but I've seen.
He was trying to sell something. I made notice.
Now you get funded.
I didn't vote.
Kind of relying, it's accountability. So is this a capital improvement?
It's a maintenance.
So it's a
The
maintenance.
roof will be a capital improvement.
The roof will be a capital improvement.
Is what's in the.
So then maintenance don't work in the.
Maintenance has to be funded through rates.
Right. So money spent, receipt given. How do we as the city citizens see that? Where would we see that?
Whose job is it?
Oh, 100%.
Is there a timeline to what's being done? And it don't take 10 years to, it might be good it takes 10 years to do it, but so it's ready to end for 10 years. But anyway, is there, I didn't read every line on that, but is there a timeline in that?
It sunsets by itself, as the
Right,
contract
okay.
goes down.
Okay.
the-
So that's when it's done, yes. But again, it's just, accountability about what's being done, when it's being done, when it's not being done.
Who's gonna hold them to the fire and make sure they're doing what?
Because like we've heard,
Is that what you're talking about?
yes, because what we've heard is other people look the other way.
Well, we don't know that, but we know that it's time to rebuild.
Well, it feels like.
And it's been,
So,
it's been
so
time.
again, is that your spot or is?
It's 100% my spot.
Yes.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you said we have holes so our water's contaminated, I mean, how does that not put
first we thought, let's just rust it. And then we got thinking about it, we realized it was actually where they took the rivets out of it or the screws out of it, and they just left the dome up there, and they put fiberglass over it, and they painted it. And so then that lasted for a lot of years. So the can got kicked down the road, and everybody's happy, no one's having these kind of meetings, right? Everybody's doing great, but that's going on the whole time in the background. So that's the problem, is that we believe in facing it, hitting it head on, and actually fixing it so that in generations from now, that tank is still standing.
But fixing the holes themselves is a major capital improvement. I mean, that is our water contamination. So that is
That's
outside
what,
of maintenance.
there were holes in it, to my knowledge, there was holes in it from one of the inspections, what triggered all this process to get the tank maintenance company to come in and repair the tank. Like, it took, we were talking how long grants take. Things take so long, because we had in 2024, 25 is when they started in the RFQ, then it got approved, and all the funding that came from savings. And then we're working on the budget, and we realized that needs to come from a rate. But answer your question,
Yeah.
to answer your question, the roof is gonna come out of savings $405,000. That is a capital project. That'll be torn down, a new roof will be put on. It won't be the same spec as the last roof, it'll be engineered a little different.
But that roof is what's covering the holes for us, and that's.
Right now, they have a tarp covering the holes. That tank is back in service with a tarp over it, that it can't get water in. But it's imperative that this gets fixed. And once we get, this moving forward, you'll get a new roof on your tank. But until then, either that tank goes out of service, or keep it like it is. Then the state's gonna find it, they're gonna fine you they're gonna fine you every month until you do it. So there's really no way around this. It isn't like hey, we're doing this because we just wanna have a nice shiny something. There's a lot of regulations to this, and right now, we're within the regulations because it's covered up. But if you don't do it, the state will find it immediately in the next sanitary survey, and then you'll be a provisionally approved water system, that sanitary survey. In the next sanitary survey, you'll be a non-approved water system. In the next sanitary survey, it'll be a continual violation to start getting fined on. So,
I'll send you this grant.
I mean, send me, that sounds fine, send me all the grants you want, but I kinda gotta move kinda quick on it, so I may not have a year, but I will, when's the opening deadline for it, does it say? Cause there's,
Yeah, if I look into it and look at all that, I can see that what we are gonna need is, engineering assessment, which we may already have, and water loss documentation, or contamination documentation. So I don't know if we already have an engineer. And it looks like we do, qualify for it under a major capital improvement because of the holes and contamination and some other reasons. So it's not considered maintenance, the things that you're saying, like the things that we need are looking like according to this grant. I don't know, I'm not a grant writer, so I've helped with grants, but I don't.
as soon as this budget is approved, the work will get started. I may not have time for a grant, maybe if we had more time, but send it to me, I'm gonna read it, I'd love to see it. Grants take a lot of review.
There's
Some of the
one last
reviews
question.
for grants
Is the
say,
TDEC report from where they come in and fell this on the tanks available for public review?
you can go in office and I'll get you a copy of it anytime you want, if you need anything you want from me, open book, no secrets.
So it says something good about option B with the sunset provision. It will kind of offset as the rate increase goes up each year. Because we're gonna go up 3% each year, right? So with it coming down, then that would kind of offset that, so everybody's water bill would stay.
With option B, it is basically only the tank maintenance contract that we're doing the tank maintenance fee for. So it goes down in 2031, which is 2026 now, so it goes down in 2031, and it'll go down to $6 per quart.
I just want to say something about grants. Grants, to me, are kind of like college scholarships. You hear all this information about how college scholarships are, there's so many available and you can apply for this scholarship and you can apply for that scholarship and there's all this money out there for college scholarships. But the thing is, when you start looking at those scholarships, they are so specific that none of them will apply to you. And the grants are kind of the same way, they're for this specific thing or that specific thing and under certain circumstances and then you've got all of these people applying for those grants and only, say, 50 people apply and only 5 are gonna be awarded the grant. So you might, even if you qualify, you might or might not get that grant.
But you might.
But you
So
might,
if you
yeah,
apply,
you
like, why
might,
not know?
you might. And we apply for grants all the time.
They're not free.
Well, you can get, I'm just saying, I think this is an option that we should consider, considering that most of us in this room, if not all of us, are gonna be affected by this increase, and it is a future decision. I'm just suggesting that maybe it's something we look into.
Oh, I think that's an
We have
excellent
about 10, we
idea.
have about 10 grants rolling right now. So we have grant administrators, we have a company that, does all of our grants, they tell us grants, we apply them to them, they do the archaeological, they do the environmental, they do the applications, and, we do put in the grant.
Basically, what I'm saying is you can't depend on grants. You can't assume that because you apply for a grant that you will get it.
We put in for a lot of grants that people don't know about. I mean,
And we
it
don't
ain't
get-
like we're just,
We're not saying
everybody
we're not
acts like
doing
we're just
it.
shoving this down everybody's
We're
throat.
not saying.
And we're really not. I understand, we order, and I've talked to Doug today, we order Explore everything. And if you don't think he's doing his due diligence, then we didn't do ours by hiring him. And I'm not trying to be an ass.
I'm just asking questions.
But I know, but we will, I mean, we understand. Hell, it affects me, I've lived here my whole life.
You know
And
that,
I'll be
you know
paying
that,
that water bill just like everybody
Yeah.
else.
you know that Blue Cross Blue Shield park down in Dayton?
I help with those grants.
Yeah, I've applied for that one in many cities I worked at. I've
Yeah.
never gotten it.
We've applied for it.
Every year it's been available.
So
It
they're
really comes
there.
down to how you write the grant. I think it is important what you put into the grant, how much you hold your community, how much community involvement you have. I mean, there's a lot that does go into writing the grant, I agree.
It is, there's a lot to do right.
Well, it took us, 4 tries to get the Tennessee downtown, wait, which one was it?
And we
Downtown,
lost,
right.
and we lost our kayak grant. We weren't
Yeah.
invited to pursue, so we lost our
Really?
kayak.
I've got one last question.
Uh-huh.
Is when the state comes to test our water, do they test it before it goes into the tank or is it actually runs out of the tank?
We test our water. We test it every month. We test it for bacteriological and test it for the chemistry side of it too. So we test our water as well with certified operators and I believe a certified lab. And, so we test our water ourselves before anything is wrong. The state comes in and reviews all of our records. It's supposed to be annually, but it winds up being every 2 to 3 years. And I believe in the last sanitary survey, they made it 99. So they do a very good job. The
That's what I'm
water
wondering
comes out
if
very
it's,
nice.
do you all test it before it goes into that
Test it every
tank?
which way. We test it for trihalomethanes, which is a disinfectant byproduct. We test it for HA5s. We test it for bacteriological, for E. coli, and we test it for alert, which is an indicator organism to see that the water doesn't have a certain type of bacteria in it. So we do everything
So
that
do you
the
test
state
it at the
up
water
to
plant or is it
100%.
comes out of that tank?
We test it in the water plant before it leaves. We test it when it's in the system, and we test the system itself. So we test all avenues of it, and they do a very good job. I'm really proud of them.
Lee?
Question,
Yes, sir.
how old are the, pictures?
The pictures of the water tanks, like the inspection.
How old are they?
I know the tanks themselves are 49 to 50 years old.
No, the pictures.
The pictures that they took
You're right.
for the,
Here we go.
No. Well, now, we did have one inspection which got prior to the company contract being up. And, they showed where we had small hits when the tank was inspected by the state. We sat here in this room, if any of us was in here, remember, we had the discussion, and we had got the grant for the water lines on Tennessee Avenue and on New Lake Road, but we had also received that inspection, and it had what the cost was gonna be. And my impression was, because I was sitting over there, was that, oh, this grant we get for water, we can use it for these pictures in this tank maintenance. But that wasn't the purpose. It was, we using that grant money that was on water lines over there, and tank maintenance pictures that were sent to us had to be addressed, and that's when we.
Okay, so the question still stands, how old are the
How old are the pictures?
The
How
pictures
old
that
are the pictures?
There.
You mean the picture that I saw with the, like, Starry Night? What that was from was when they did sandblasted.
Yeah,
Like
What, how old are they?
A million worth of
Years.
pictures taken.
The ones that I saw that I've been talking about doing Starry Night, was after they sandblasted about a month ago.
Yeah.
He stood inside the tank and took a picture of it, and showed it to me, like, look at this. And, the roof's gotta be replaced. He said, it's still probably gonna be change order. He said, whenever I was, doing the initial, project for the tank maintenance contract of the painting and the sandblasting, there may be a change order, is what he said. He told everybody. I wasn't here, but the ones that I saw was very recent. And, they're covered, it's covered up now. No water's getting in. The tank's back in service, but it's not a long-term fix. It's a temporary Band-Aid. And, they're been working, it's still happening in real time.
How long are you allowed to leave the park on?
But this is all happening in real time. I don't know how long this will stay on, but this is all happening in real time because, as soon as we found out about it needs to be a change order done, they just got me the number for the price today. Today at 12 o'clock, they called me and said, we finally got the engineers to sign off on it. We finally got a company that'll come in and do it. And he's been talking with his guys about all the things that I requested him to do on the maintenance contract. And, so to think that this is something that isn't happening in real time is wrong. This is happening as we speak. So once I can get it funded, I'm gonna get on their schedule. That's the other part. It won't even happen tomorrow. Then I gotta get on their schedule because they've got other jobs ahead of us. So how long can the tarp stay on? I don't know. As long as it needs to be, it can be replaced with another one if not, until we get done. But it'll have to stay on and another one will get on its place. It take a long time to get with us. We pride ourselves on being professional and doing it the right way. We'll hold them accountable too. But as soon as we get the contract put together, which he's working on now, because the price just came in today at noon. So once the contract gets put together, we go in front of the board will approve it, and once it's approved, then they'll get us on the schedule. Once they're on the schedule, it'll get done, and then we'll send them a check, and the tank will be fixed. Because it's one of those things that's happening in real time. It's not something nobody planned or wants to do. I don't want to spend my afternoon with you. I love all you guys, but I'd rather do anything else than sitting up here talking about things that are negative, because nobody wants to be told, hey, you got to pay more money. Nobody wants that. I'm so sorry. But in the long run, you'll be very glad that you did this, because when is the cheapest time to ever build anything? Right now. Right now. Right now. Because it's only going to be more expensive later. And if we bite the bullet now, make that tank last another 30 years, we'll be doing good.
Remind us, it was more of, we got a tarp on it now. It's acceptable for right now, blocking the water coming in because we don't have it fixed, and we're working on something.
Yeah.
How long does it stay last? I wasn't saying, I was more of, can that tarp, can we replace that tarp? And explore more things, like you were saying with her grants and this, instead of the ugly tarp car through town for a few more months, so we get some more answers. Or do we gotta sign up? Like, at the end of 10 years, you're paying it again. Even out of the three, B sounds the best. You see a charge, you pay $15, whatever. But then at the end of that, we're just renting. That's all we're doing is renting. We're having to pay it. And then at the end of that 10 years, we gotta do it again. There has to be a way where he was saying, let's start now. We know we got a 10-year time limit to figure out a different thing than signing up for this every So if the state's allowing us to have a tarp on for this month, but we can't next month, that's one thing. But if they're not squawking that we have a tarp on there, why can't we? And that's the other thing, where we write grants all the time. I'm not a grant person. I don't know how many of y'all send grants in this, but I do know other people that have been pretty successful with grants. And you're saying we're paying people to write our grants. Do we explore the option of looking at another successful grant person that's known better for getting them grants? I could be wasting, I don't know what I'm talking about right now. That's what I'm asking about.
Majority of grants aren't for utilities, only CDBG is, and sometimes ARPA money with COVID, spur on the economy, and actually the prices go up when they gave everyone money. So there's only a handful of contractors. Majority of the grants from the state, their feeling is that you need to support your utility with your rates and not rely on grants. So there's very few grants out there. There is CDBG grants. I've used those for buying fire trucks, down to putting in water lines, repairing water lines for water loss. But you're allowed one a year, and you can't apply for another one until your other one is spent. And the year that this one was applied for the Cumberland Trail, they weren't approving water and sewer CDBGs because they had ARPA money given to them through the state, from the federal. So we can look into grants. I gladly will. As soon as we get back to the office in the morning, I'll start looking into it. And if there's a viable grant that can get done in a certain amount of time, yeah, it's a great idea. And I want to do that. Because we still have time until the contract is put together, until it comes in front of the board, and then we'll be on a waiting list. But grants are pretty narrow in what they want. Like the Cumberland Trail, there's 3 grants in that thing, and it's narrowed to just that. So people say, why are you doing the Cumberland Trail? Why aren't you fixing our roads? Well, you either use that money for that, or you don't get no money at all. It's only for that. I do know we all hear about grants. We all hear about scholarships. I've heard that you get scholarships for all sorts of stuff. And I mean, I just got my student loans paid off. So, I don't know, it's not really as, it sounds great. It's like, let's do that. That's perfect. Get us out of this whole mess. But the state, from grants, most of the time, they want you to support your maintenance through, rate increases. And there are grants out there. And I'll look tomorrow. I'll go to the grant website and see what's available. There's a grant administrator that I know out of Nashville that's really good. He's not with Southeast Development District. I'll give him a call and I'll see if anything's out there that fits something like this. It's a really good idea. It's been my experience that they're harder to get these things. And you're gonna need an engineer to write the grant. I can't do it. These are complex grants with like environmentals, with inspections, and they'll take somewhere up to like 6 months just to review it most of the time. So it's slow. I've been working on SRF for the water plant the whole time I've been here. It's here yet. Because they're feeding chlorine out of 55-gallon barrels. Because their MIOP system, which is a disinfection system that makes like a chlorine type, is broken. And
And that's not even in this.
oh no, we're gonna get a lot of
And the
stuff.
meters aren't even in.
The meters are I mean, there'll be bills to pay for a long time. How that'll work is that, a lot of this stuff is depreciated out for capital projects. You can use that depreciation money. For maintenance projects, you have to fund it through rates, through fees. But a capital project, like say if like a pump has been, it's $10,000, we depreciate it. You put $1,000 aside for the 10 years that pump will last. Then, that 10 years, you use your money you put aside to buy that new pump. It doesn't come out of your rate. This 900 capital line item in the budget, 900 line item. So it doesn't come out of your cash flow. And that's what we confirmed today with our auditor to make sure that we could do the 405,000 out of our savings because we've been depreciating that for all these years. That tank's been depreciated since it's been here. And so now we're using the money that was put aside based on that cost to repair it. So, anyway, I'm sorry to bore everybody.
Is there a list of grants that we have applied for and where we're
Here's the list of grants we've applied for, you want a copy of it?
So,
I can get you, but who wants to buy it?
We went all the way through like public hearings and stuff with it too, and then they just said, you're not invited to apply.
Now, if they can find another grant, we have an opportunity for another grant to go along with the, what's it called, AR?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alright,
But we have until the December 31st to find another grant to go along with that.
so is that the matching grant?
Yes.
So the first grant we
we got one.
we have the matching grant.
Yeah, and we went on and applied for the one, went through that process, and the other one, we're trying to find another matching grant. So if you wanna talk about grants, that we're not just sitting on our thumbs here, we got grants, current grants are 2020 Cumberland Trail Greenway, or 2020, 26. See, so Cumberland Trail Greenway is 2020 grant. It has the, Resilient Communities Catalyst Grant Fund, 2022, 2022 TDOT Multimodal Access Grant, 2022 Gray County TDEC ARPA Grant, which I believe that project is the one in Tennessee Street. Then there's a 2023 TNECD Broadband Ready Community Grant, Scope.
Can I ask another question about the water?
I know, they can do this, because we're talking grants. And another one is, local floods, local, places and planning programs. Another one is SCTD marketing grants. Another one is downtown grants programs. Another one is Army Corps of Engineer assistance under the planning assistance to help with, the Piney River Channel. Another one is a CDBG grant. Another one is, an infrastructure planning grant for the asset management plan. And another one is a TDOT, raise grant. Another is a 2025 TDOT grant for tourism website. Another is 2025 LPRF grant for the Cumberland Trail Connector. So there's lots of grants. We do. Don't.
No, nobody was saying that you didn't ask for grants, or that you don't apply for grants. Please understand that. All we were saying was, have you applied for grants for the water, because it is making sense. This is not, people in this community who don't have a lot of money.
I knew about this about a month ago.
Okay, that's all the question was, had any grants been applied for?
I just got the price today.
Right, okay.
And it wasn't something that's, been there forever. It may have been there forever, but, it's one of those things that was, I knew about it about a month ago. I saw the first pictures, and the guy saw them, like, look at this, structure and sound, seems rusted, and we've been waiting all this time for the, cost to the, contract.
Another question, when you submit for the grant, you have to have your paper trail to follow as far as cost. All the stuff that goes along with it. It's not like you can just go in there, you can apply for a grant or whatever. So you could not have done this until you received the cost.
We would probably, yes, you're exactly right. And the cost is actually an engineering cost from the change order itself to an engineering firm. And then they contacted a contractor that they have under contract that does these kind of repairs and rebuilds. And we're talking about the roof repair. So we found out about a month ago, started the process, and, we just got a price today. So it's not been it's live. It's still going. They haven't approved it yet. They haven't approved the work yet.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
We're doing a study on what our supply and demand is. So where I'm going with that is there's certain laws that we have to turn that water over completely within 2 days, or we've got to be treating that water. So
Like in the distribution system,
yeah, in our storage tank. That's right.
there is turnover in the tanks. And how they do it is it's based on telemetry. They just let it draw and let it fill up. And they also do flushing as well in the system.
So every 2 days we're completely dropping that tank.
Probably every night. They probably let it drop every night and then refill it up. They let it ebb and flow down. They don't let it go to zero, because that day, drop.
So that's what y'all do at the other, right? Is that what we're doing here?
Everybody does it, yeah. And that's trended. It's trended, it's inspected, it's on a digital, it's on, like a backup chart. The state inspects those. We're inspected, and like I said, they do really well. So it's, the quality of the workmanship of the people, men and women that work here is unquestioned. They do a great job, and they follow every rule that they know, and they're certified operators. And, I don't worry about them at all. The only problem is we just got a tank that needs some fixing.
My question was really targeted more towards, do we have more tank supply area than we demand for it, is where I was going with it. So could we eliminate a tank temporarily? I'm not saying we should, I'm just asking if one could be eliminated.
During the time that this tank has been down for the cleaning and sandblasting and the discovery of the root problem, the water plant has incurred great amount of overtime because they normally shut down, but now they can't because they have to keep the pumps running and keep the pressure up in town. And you're also not getting a true 24-hour buffer for storage. So if that tank was down permanently and they just ran the pumps to keep pressuring the line to keep the water flowing, if a pump was to ever give out or break, we have redundancy, we have two of everything. If it ever breaks, or the power goes out, you wouldn't have any water, and that we don't want.
Thank you.
All right. So, ponder on which selection y'all gonna.
I recommend B.
It seems to be the most cut and dried and obvious that you can see what it is.
Well, I recommend B, and the reason is that you still gotta do the tank maintenance contract, you still gotta fund it. Now, when it comes to the roof itself, that's not even in, option B. The roof itself, which is all the grant stuff we're talking about, is we have some time on it until their contract is put together and until the board can convene to, approve it. So in that meantime, we'll explore grants for that section of it. But this section of it, the contract that was signed back in 2025 in August and needs to be funded moving forward.
And this is also part of finalizing this year's, or the new fiscal year's budget, correct?
Yeah, you won't be able to without approving it.
Yeah, so this has to be done right away, because the new budget for the new year has to be balanced and everything by June 30th every year. So the state comes in as this one.
Okay. Nope. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I truly appreciate you coming in. Number one, Lee, is mainly getting y'all support and y'all's lessons about the festival events. It's very important and pressing that the citizens have a say. You all have. So now, when they start calling me, I give y'all phone numbers, and people told me I had to do this.
Y'all were all here,
Y'all voted, we didn't, done deal. We just gonna support you.
You need my phone number now?
I'm gonna do what you told me to do.
Just write your phone number as you go out the door.
All minds clear? We're adjourned.
And if anybody's in town tomorrow, the Bloodmobile will be